So, but like many others of my generation, and like the quote that Don read, I'm from the generation who believed that if you went to school, got a good education, followed all the rules, that you'd be okay forever. And that's not true. So not only am I trying to help other people regroup, you teach what you need to learn, and I needed to learn how to regroup again. Because my life had gone pretty well. I mean, there were ups and downs. But for the most part, I believed that I could do anything I wanted to do, and it would all work out right the first time. My retirement was not secure, even though I thought it was. Things don't work out the way I planned. And so we must periodically recalibrate, learn new things, try new things, do new things to remain viable in the current environment. So we have to recalibrate or be out of date and periodically reinvent ourselves. Now, how many of you agree with that statement? Everybody in the room. Okay, so the only constant is change. That's the one thing that we can absolutely be sure will always come back to haunt us. So when I wrote this book, I thought that I had, cracked the code and everything would be hunky-dory, but what I discovered was you have to reinvent yourself again and again and again. And if you think you could stop before you're dead, wrong. So I'm still at it. When I wrote the book, it was because people kept asking how I managed to give up my cushy job, which paid a lot of money. I mean, I had made it to the top of the pyramid that I thought that I wanted to be on top of. But when I started looking around, I didn't really see that it was a place for me to stay. And so when I found coaching, and that helped me because I really enjoy helping other people grow. And I had this unique skill of being able to talk to engineers, be understood, and accepted because I was one of them, but not really. I just don't think the way typical engineers do. So I ended up being in charge of a lot of different projects. So that's kind of how this all got started. And I thought I was writing for people my age who needed to reinvent themselves. Turns out I was writing for young people, college students. A couple of colleges actually bought the book and gave it to all the students that got scholarships one year. People who were younger than me in organizations who were looking for ways to move up, which is how I ended up in Northrop part-time as an executive leadership coach. And just what I planned was not really the audience for the book. Well, now it's turning around and it's becoming the audience, a book for the audience that I thought I wrote it for in the first place, but it wasn't at first, and I couldn't have expected that either. Social programming. We all want to get along and be accepted. And that's where the social programming comes in. There are things that we can do that will get us accepted by the people around us. And that's not always the thing that's best for you to do. Belief system. We're taught ways to believe, and we are actually taught to be mediocre. I don't want to be that. And I try to help as many people as possible not to be mediocre. Doubt. We got ourselves. There's fear, guilt, negative self-talk. We talked about all of these things just a few minutes ago. Limiting beliefs. I can't do that. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too this. I'm too fat. I'm too skinny. I'm too something. Habits. We get into ruts and habits, and they're hard to break. And our defenses. And in a way, defenses are really good things, but they can be the biggest roadblock to your success. For getting out of your own way, what can you do to begin to do that? You have to change the beliefs and the behaviors that don't serve you. And maybe never did, but when times were better, it was easier to get away with some of the things that we did. Now we have to look at, is what we're doing serving us to get from where we are to where we want to be? And if it's not, what can I do differently? Discover passion and purpose. What would you do if you didn't get paid for it and you wanted to do it anyway? Or what could you do all day long and look up and go, set goals and take actions to accomplish them. And by being here, this is really a good place to start. You can overcome the fear that can hold you back. Well, even if you don't overcome it, feel the fear and do it anyway. That's one of my favorite lines and one of my favorite books. There is a book by Susan Jeffers called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And I read it when I was deciding what I wanted to do, and it's one of the books that I reference in my own work. Give yourself permission to dream, and dream really big dreams. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of Les Brown, and one of his favorite sayings is, shoot for the moon, at least you'll land among the stars. So you may not get all the way to wherever it is you intended to go, but you've got to start moving in some direction or you won't go anywhere. And you have to be willing to take the steps that allow you to implement the dream and turn it into reality. Even baby steps. Don't just sit and say, I can't do that because. Well, there's something you can do that can help move you in the direction that you want to go. And every step you take forward, it's like the universe opens up and sends you the next step so that you can keep moving in whatever direction it is. In my book, I talk about my success prescription. So the first one is to retrain your brain. And we talked about discovering your passion and purpose, and then developing an action plan. And walk the walk and talk the talk effectively means, visualize where you want to go and then start acting like you're already there. You heard the saying, fake it till you make it. That's my fake it till you make it step. And then develop a dream team. And what I like to say about that is, we, especially women, have been socialized not to like things like mathematics. So I was always a little strange because, I'm fascinated by mathematics because unlike people, if you got the right formula and you did the problem right, you got the right answer. Well, people aren't like that. So I love mathematics, and I always wondered why they kept telling me not to do it. And if you understood how to do math, you could get better jobs. If you look in the paper, anything that gets you, really good salary, requires that you understand how to do mathematics. What I want to say about the dream team is you need at least one person in your life that believes in you. And if you don't have it, send me an email, I'll be it. Okay. And my husband used to tell me, I wish you could see yourself through my eyes, because then you would know how great you are. I'll keep him just for that statement. Or my mom who said, you can do anything you want to do. You're smart, just get on out there and do it. Though it's hard, you can do it. And so until the day she died, and she passed away 2 years ago, she could get anything she wanted out of me because she was always behind me pushing. She said, I can't do it myself. I had 2 friends, and the 3 of us went to college together. And every Sunday we would sit at the table in Mom's house and do all our homework and get it all caught up. Some people were better at some things than others, and so we kind of switched it up. And she cooked dinner for us every Sunday for 5 years. And so she said, I don't have any money, I can't send you to school, I can keep your daughter, and I can serve you guys dinner. And that's what she did. So there were at least 3 of us, and people came and went in that, but there were 3 of us, me, Frank, and Al. I was the only woman. And they are still, after 40 years, my 2 best friends. And I love those guys dearly, and they were non-negotiable in my marriage. Frank and Al stayed. And my husband and them are friends as well. But for the 3 of us, our friendship was non-negotiable. I want to concentrate on retraining your brain. The idea behind this is you create your reality by the way you think. You can either talk yourself into something or talk yourself out of it, or think yourself into something or think yourself out of it. And you can have empowering beliefs or limiting beliefs. So you want to push out all of the negative stuff and put in some of the more positive things. So more positive thoughts and self-talk and beliefs. So this is kind of the crux of my whole thinking is, if you can change the way you think, you can change your life. Because everything starts with what we believe. And our beliefs determine our thoughts. And if you can't believe something will happen, you never think it. I mean, it doesn't have to be true at that moment, but you have to be able to believe that it's possible and that it's possible for you. Not just possible for me because I'm stubborn and independent, but possible for you too. You might be stubborner and more independent than I am. And then your thoughts determine your habits. And your habits are what you do on a regular basis. And sometimes we need to change them because our habits can stand in our way as well. And then the habits, well, they determine your behavior, what you'll do. Behavior is how you act in certain situations. And then the behavior affects your actions. And whether or not you take action determines whether or not you get results. I love this chart. I don't care what type of talk I'm doing. I always include this chart because it really is true. You start with beliefs and you end in results. And if you don't get to the results part, figure out what you're doing wrong and start again and go through the steps because you have to get to the results. If you aren't getting any results, then look and say, okay, what else can I do? What am I doing wrong? How can I take at least one more step to get closer to where I want to be? Are you a victim or a victim? I want victims in this room. I don't care how you walked in here and what you thought when you walked in this room. You walk out thinking that you are not a victim. So these are the attributes of a victim, and they're all written in your handout, so I don't have to go through them. And these are the attributes of a winner. And that's not all of them, but this is a good representative survey, summary. And where are you on this continuum? Are you over here or over there or somewhere in the middle, and how do you keep moving farther toward the left? And so this is, and some of the things that I find with people at lower levels, they're down here, they're rude and disrespectful, because especially if you're standing in their line that gives them something they can hold over you. Overcoming limited beliefs, we talked about that considerably. Don't ever say I can't. And here's some steps for overcoming your negative beliefs. Replace your I can't with any of the following things. It's possible, and it's possible for me. If somebody says it can be done, I can do it. And here are some words to ban from your vocabulary, period. I can't, I need to, I should. And there's one more that there wasn't room to put up there and I didn't think about it until later. It's I'll try. Oh, yeah. So add I'll try to the bottom of that list. No, what I said was, what if I could? I had no idea whether I could or not. But I said, well, what if I could do that? What would it take? What would I have to learn? And I started I was 16 at the time, right? I called Disneyland and I asked whoever answered the phone, who was probably a clerk, what would I have to study in college if I wanted to do a robot? So I had no idea, but I knew that it was something that I